So we wanted that idea that, you know, you always see these things at everything and you kind of go like, oh, gee, another one of those. The only really important part of this is the arrows. The idea that none of these are periods, none of them end, they're all arrows. Your monitoring leads to something and something leads to monitoring. You go out and you find turbid waters, you monitor some more, you find out there's 8,000 smolts in there and you go like, wow, never expected that. If people are not in the watershed looking, they will not know there's anything in the watershed. When I came into this room, I monitored the air quality. It was quite poor. We opened the windows. We're hoping to improve the air quality and get things up. You monitor everything all the time. You may not know that, okay? But we are born to monitor. It's what we do. So one of the things I looked at then was to monitor just not the environmental aspect of things, but to monitor you. And I had the benefit of knowing who was going to be in this class, and I was able to go online and grab hold of a few of your mission statements. Have you ever thought that your monitoring should lead to the fulfillment of your mission statement? Have you ever thought of that? Like when you're monitoring and what you're doing, you should be able to say, oh, it's fulfilling our mission statement. If you've gone away and you're monitoring something different than your mission statement, you're doing something called mission drift. And it typically has something to do with money. And you have drifted to where the money is. And you're standing over here where really your organization had these as mission statements. Some of them will be pretty easy to monitor whether you're getting there or not. And I would think that would be with the young naturalists, because they say they invite people to discover and have environmental programs and invite ages 5 to 12. If they do a quick monitor of the last sessions that they did and they were all on mathematics and everyone was 80, there's been a mission drift. And they should monitor that they're indeed fulfilling their mission. If you're fulfilling your mission, when someone asks you what your group does, you can tell them and you can give examples of what your group does. And then it's quick and easy and people want to join you because you're indeed doing what you say you're going to do. If you start sliding a little bit, it gets harder and harder to explain what your group is and what you do, and harder to encourage people to come and join you. We have the one at the top, and it's Maple Creek, and they are volunteers. That is fairly simple to monitor. Here they are, volunteering their time, and they're there to protect and enhance Maple Creek and its environment. And that's something you went online, and I could see where they were monitoring their stream, especially some construction work that was going on. That wasn't very good practices. And they were able to show what was happening now and what was happening in the past. And that says, I'm not here today. I didn't show up to this because it was a problem. I was here, and the problem was here. I didn't come looking for a problem. I came to look at my creek. I found a problem. And how many times is that the case? I went to do a sampling session one time, and honestly, I had to go into the creek like this because I really just wanted to get a pH sample and get out. And when the concrete wash came out of the pipe right beside me, I couldn't help it. I saw it, and I had to grab the sample. I knew it was concrete. I didn't have to do a pH study. I knew what it was. And I had to go up to the apartment complex and talk to the people about their practices with concrete wash. But it's hard to monitor and go there for the purpose that you've gone there and not see something else. Okay, we often see something else. So this is the thing. I ask you though to do that, like go home and look at kind of what you do within your organizations and check it against your mission statement and just make sure that you're not drifting too far away from your mission statement. If you are, maybe you've got some new membership, maybe you've got something, maybe you want to change your mission statement and you want to revisit that. Those are such fun meetings, missions, visions, objectives. Make it over a glass of wine. Let everyone have a chat. Put words down on a piece of paper and the most words win. But be very careful that it's indeed what your group wants to do. Okay? Something else that you want to monitor is how many hours are put into this within your organization. That's a really powerful number, and it is a horrendous thing to try and collect. But government wants hours. And they tried one year to ask us for the hours from the previous year. And I said, well, nobody asked me to keep track of hours, and I didn't. And I often am a little nervous asking volunteers to keep track of their hours, because it's a lot of hours. And I'm nervous that they'll notice how many hours of the day, and then they will compare it to the number of hours that they're on vacation, and they might see that there's a discrepancy. So something that keeps track of hours for you without you indeed doing it yourself is in the Streamkeepers database. And when you fill in your information as to what you've been monitoring and you put it into the data entry tool, it takes how many people were out that day and how long it took to do that task. It marries that. And it can break it down to this group took this many hours to do the volunteering. So you don't have to keep track of it. It will do it for you, providing you put your information in. Information can only come out if information goes in. Okay? But this is how many hours of volunteering. And I got to say, I have asked about that question so many times. My husband has done the data entry tool, and he has looked at all the mathematical formulas. And that's just the number of volunteer hours for these surveys that are in the data entry tool. That has nothing to do with the billions of other hours. When a group like West Van Streamkeepers goes out with 100 high school students and does studies, that bumps up the hours. Something fierce, right? They go out for a couple hours, 100 people, there's 200 hours, right? So it's pretty quick to get your numbers to come up. I also would like you to monitor your volunteers. Who is out there volunteering? Sometimes people think, oh, they're not professionals, they're volunteers, we can't really pay attention to them, you know, their knowledge is not good. So I have a little joke. What do you get when you have a physicist, a biologist, a realtor, a behavioral specialist, and me walking into a bank?
Trouble.
You have the signing authority for the North Shore Streamkeepers at the bank. We have a physicist, a biologist, realtor, behavioral specialist. They play with us in meetings. It's scary. And myself. That doesn't have, yeah, it's really scary. Volunteers are amazing. We have talent that is beyond belief of the people that are out there and what they know how to do. One of our best volunteers at the hatchery was a high school, he was a high school janitor. If we have little plumbing issues and a ball of twine and a thing of, rubber, a piece of rubber and ball of twine, he'll fix everything for us, right? An expert is an expert, and it doesn't matter. All these have "ist" on the end of them. I'm not sure what some of them actually even mean, but they're there. And, but when I say if you're going to look for a red-tailed frog, send an 11-year-old boy, okay? He'll find you a tailed frog, a red-legged frog. They'll find that for you, okay? Send in the experts on that. But please, look at yourself and your knowledge. They let us be on jury duty. We're just humans. And we're allowed to be on jury duties that put people in prison for life. But we can't tell them that the water quality might be a little bit off. You can tell them the water quality is a little bit off. Okay? And sometimes we don't have to be so fancy. I've been at areas where the municipalities are telling them you have to do this, and you have to study for this, and you have to study for this. I think this is busy work. I think they're keeping us busy. It's not our job to do that. Our job is to let them know when something is out of whack, when something is askew. It's not our job to take it to the exact 10th degree. It's not our job to fix it. If we'd like to take it on, that's fine, but it's not our job. Okay? Our job as volunteers is to have fun. Okay? If you're not having fun, go home. Okay? And here are the two. These are the two that play with our minds when we're at meetings. They're behavioral specialists, specializing in rats. So I don't know what that says about us, but there we are. The other thing I'd like you to monitor is government. What is government doing? What are they looking at? Where are they are interested in things? And if you see something that government is interested in, jump in, say a little bit. Don't say too much. Some of us don't know too much. Just say the part you know, okay? And say it over and over and over, okay? And there are places to do this. I was told recently that there was something that I said, when did that come into effect? And they said, oh, it was up on the Gazette. The what? I didn't know what a Gazette was, and I didn't know that the government put stuff up on there. Very short period of time that they put it up. But this is what I found this morning that's on the Gazette. There's regulations amending their prohibition of certain toxic substances in regulations 20112. And it's good until April 4. It's past that. So that one's over. Oh, they've extended it. Okay, to June 30th. So this is on the Gazette. If you have someone in your organization that likes to read stuff about what the government is up to and what's going on, here's an opportunity. Still really late in the game, okay? By the time things go to Gazette and by the time that they are out for public to take a look at them, they're pretty much a done deal. Okay, we don't have a lot of government staff to be able to make changes after they're recommended, but if you start making comments on these, rational comments on these, you will be seen as a group that maybe we should talk to prior to. Maybe we can ask a couple of questions prior to. So there was 3 slides on what was on Gazette. Always look and see, though, what the government is up to. Anytime that you can make even a tiny comment about their process and policies, please take advantage. There must be somebody in your group that's interested. Right now, the ISMPs, the Integrated Stormwater Management Planning, is going on. Municipalities are way behind the gun, right? They are so far behind in this. This is supposed to be done. They're not done. They are looking for help with Integrated Stormwater Management. Please, in that one again, stay within your depth of knowledge. That was one of the guys that plays with us, said at the meeting, we shouldn't be, as regular Joes that don't know, saying where additional stormwater, which streets it should run down as overflow, like on the street, and for how long. We don't know that, okay? The question that was written, that was given to us, was one line, which was then explained to us. It wasn't really the question that we were asked. And the scenario was water bubbling out of a manhole cover. I live on a ravine. Having water coming out of a manhole cover is not in my, yes, please do this, under any circumstances, because I'm on a steep slope and I will lose my house. But the question was explained to us different than it was written, and we were being asked to have written comment. How can we do written comment on a question that's mobile? Okay? Always make sure that the question that you're being asked is a solid question that everyone understands the meaning of, and have your answer one that people can do. But please monitor what your municipality is working on. That is probably one of your best ins right now, is with Integrated Stormwater Management and with your local government.
The IMSPs, how do you approach a municipality when there is absolutely no talk about it?
Okay. They, under law, have to be talking. They have to have an ISMP in place. They have to have that going. And some consultants working on it. So Google ISMP, your municipality, and then put the word consultant in there and see what pops up. Some consultants behind the gun. Okay, so for monitoring, one of the ones that we start with was Streamkeepers Module 1. And that's like, you know, number 1, first thing to do. And it's to step in your creek and walk the creek and get to know your creek. You can't get to know your creek by just driving past it. There's not an opportunity to get to know it. So under Module 1, if you put things into the data entry tool, these are some of the people that put information into there. We can go out and collect this information. We break the creek into sections, and then we start to do our monitoring as we go along. It says where we monitored from. So we monitored from here to here. And this one was actually done as a part of an ISMP program. As a volunteer, sometimes we don't get as much recognition, so I applied for a grant. I applied for a $700 grant to do an ISMP process where I did Module 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a complete study of this creek. I didn't want the money. I wanted to be involved in the ISMP. And the way in was through cash, so I took it. So we took the $700 and we mapped this reach of the stream. From that, we went in and we have a new feature on the database that you can now put in a photo with it, which makes a big difference because photos are really important to do. We can say what the photo is, we can say what we were looking at, we can say what the action items were on this. And that's one of the things of monitoring with a purpose. What is your purpose for getting to know your creek? Well, you want to get to know your creek. Where are my problems going to come from? Where are my solutions going to come from? What action needs to be taken today? What can I let slide? Who do I have to tell what? And that comes from your action items, and those can be broken out. So as you can see, there's quite a bit. This was an action item. We went out on July 22nd, and we went under this bridge. Had I driven over this bridge, I would have no idea there was a beaver under that bridge. But we were trying to walk under it, and it was hard. So July 22nd, we were able to get underneath of it, and we got our hip chain, and we're going through, and we're crawling. And we went back August 1 because on July 22nd our thermometer was broken when we took it out of the package. I don't know if you've ever had that. So we went back on August 1 just to pick up a few extra things. I couldn't get between the beaver dam and the road from July 22 to August 1. On July 22, I'd phoned my municipality. I said, you might be interested in this beaver dam. And they started talking about salmon returns. I wasn't telling them about this for salmon returns. I was telling them about this because there's a road here and there's a railway right underneath of this, like the next one. And it was full as well with debris because the beavers were very, very, very busy. You know this area well, Fiona. We had to step down the other side though, and I was wearing shorts and runners because, you know, it's summer, I'm monitoring. And I went, oh, this is too deep, I can't get in there. This beaver did amazing amounts of work. But when I phoned my municipality, they put me in the streamkeeper box and they said, oh, yeah, you're worried about fish? Well, not to worry, it's, you know, August and there won't be any fish coming through for a while. I'm like, yes, I'm well aware of that. What I thought you might want to know is that, you know, you're going to lose your road and you're going to lose the railway tracks, and there's some cargo on those railway tracks at any given day that you may not want in the creek. Okay, and there was a few hobos that were going to lose their homes. We worried. So yeah, so they did go in here after my third conversation and photos and said, honestly, guys, this is something that you might want to look at. So they went there. So when I went monitoring, I wanted to see what kind of shape our creek was in, what kind of areas needed some help, where things like, you know, the knotweed was and that kind of stuff, things that the municipality could get to know where they were. And this is what I found. So I didn't put it on an action list and prioritize it for later. I got on the phone and phoned right away and let people know what was going on underneath of there. If by chance you put in infrastructure into a creek system, it's kind of yours. Like if you're the one that puts it in, it's kind of yours, and it's kind of something that you should take care of and you should look after. So be very cautious and try as much as possible to work with your municipalities to make it theirs, to make it someone else's. But keeping in mind, if this infrastructure was put in place to help fish get from one end of the watershed to the other end of the watershed, and you want them to get from one end of the watershed to the other end of the watershed, this is what it takes, okay? It takes going down here. You've seen Doug here? Yeah. And it takes cleaning out this. It keeps keeping an eye on this. This fish ladder was put in by a fishing game club and then they moved away. And what had happened was all underneath of it had eroded. And so the fish ladder was up here and the water was down here, and there's a big cement wall behind. There was no way any fish was going up there. So when we were monitoring for fish up above, there was no fish up above. We couldn't figure out why. So we walked down to see why are there no fish? And we had been told there was a fish ladder, not to worry. But we went to actually look at it, and we're able to put in this, this box to catch some water to allow the fish to swim up through here. But this takes constant maintenance. There's a trash rack above it, but it still collects a lot of debris. And you have to clean these constantly if you want the fish to be able to make their way through. Okay. This is one, I was at a different ISMP meeting, and this is on Musqueam land. And somebody's put in the infrastructure of a staff gauge, but I don't think it's coming back to monitor it because I went to take a look at it because I was told that sand was an issue in this particular watershed, and this sand had taken it up like about this high. So what had been at 0 was no longer. So none of these numbers would make any sense because it's supposed to be from the 0 mark. It wouldn't make any sense. If you're putting in infrastructure, please monitor it, and please monitor that it's still working. And if you choose to quit doing that, take it out. You know, we don't leave our garbage lying around. So if you're not doing it anymore, maybe just take it out. But the amount of sand that was going into the Musqueam Creek is amazing amounts of sand. And something that they noticed through walking along and looking at things, which is monitoring, is that the construction people change the color of their sand. So they can indeed tell what year this sand came in because something happened to one color of sand and now everything's done another color of sand. I would never have known that that had been a change, but they've been walking the land and watching the changes, and color of sand was one of them. I'm going to click through this, but this is a presentation that I did for our council. I went out and I did some monitoring. I didn't want to. I wanted to go to the bank. I wanted to drive to the bank. That was all I was doing, driving to the bank. And I made the mistake of turning and looking to the right. And they were digging up the road here, and Telus was here doing some other stuff, and the municipality was there, and there was like 3 different construction sites going on at the same time. So I was like, oh. Turned the corner, went down, and I saw a storm drain there, and I thought it was far enough away that it really wouldn't have any problem with that particular amount of stuff that was going on. But I live in North Vancouver, and it was starting to rain. I thought, Gravity. So I thought, I'm going to get a cloth put into this drain just in case something happens. So when we go out and do stormwater management, one of the things that we look at is the culverts and the drains that drain. We didn't know, but when you go to a creek, you think that the water from the creek is in just that one area. The water for Lynn Creek actually comes from Lonsdale, if you know the area. There's this giant one. So this is a presentation that I made because one day I went to the bank. Okay, and then I went to the bus depot area, and this again is down by the wetland area, and there's oil sheens all over everything. This is Lynn Valley in 1966 and in 1999, and you should see it now. Okay, it's just all the way across. We go to meetings, and people ask us to compromise. Who am I to compromise? I have no authority over this land. I have no right to compromise, but my belief is that we already have. Okay? So I think we should be tread a little gentler, and we should watch a little bit more about how we do our development. This is some numbers that I get laid out to council. I'm sure they knew as much about it as I do. The reason I put in this particular graph is I Googled to see what kind of information was stored somewhere about the sands that are in filter cloth. When they collect the sand out of the filter cloth, what do they find in it? And these are all the uh-ohs that are in, that's a scientific word, that are in the filter cloth. Richard Bowes did this. So our environmental protection officer was the one that when he went to school, he did this. This is his knowledge. And I was able to put that into the council thing. So a connection to this project because he's the one that collected that a long time ago when he was a graduate student. And we all loved being graduate students. I was never one. Did you enjoy it? No idea. Then we started a campaign because we found out that storm drains are one of the most easiest way for us to get from the land to the water. And it was pretty obvious whenever we went to the end of a storm drain. So we put on a storm drain campaign, and we did the big posters for the bus. Lovely, lovely timing. We put the posters up, and then the buses all went on strike. So luckily people still hitchhiked from there, and that was good. And we were able to convince them to keep the program going for a longer period of time. We worked on getting the storm drain flyers that go on the doors a little bit more succinct. We worked with fisheries on that. And we worked with the Royal Bank. We had a problem at our hatchery. Somebody had played with the water, and water no longer went to the fish, so we had some death. If you ever want to get a lot of volunteers right away, yeah, kill everything in your hatchery. All kinds of people come out to help. And so the Royal Bank came out to help, and they did storm drain marking. And they also, I just absolutely love this. This is what they did for Morton Creek Salmon Enhancement for our stream, what are those things called? T-shirts? And I wish that we could find the person who made them, because I'd like to make some more. So we decided that from going to the bank that we should do a storm drain program. Can you see the difference between the storm drain outfall and Lynn Creek? You know, we think this is what the streams should look like. And even that, though, is not totally natural, because the outfall that I showed you in that long culvert is indeed right at this area. So as we go and we learn about our creek and we see something and we start to monitor, we have to tell people. And that's what this story was about telling them about things. Size of a stonefly that was in our area. Okay, this is the one that made me stop and say something's not right here. I talked to the workers. They had thought because it wasn't raining, it wasn't a problem. And I said, it's North Vancouver, it's going to rain in a second, and we won't be surprised. But they were providing their own water, right? Since this time, I want to say things have changed, okay? Things are not what they were. Things are better than they were, and we have to recognize that things are better than they were, okay? The other day when I drove by and the guy was doing this and he was going across, the other guy behind him was going with a vacuum, and he was sucking up that stuff at the same time. Things have changed. But they changed because people made these kind of presentations at council. So we went through, and I looked on the front. This is just in front of my street, and there was a work site going on. So I just took my shovel and ran it along in front of my street, and I made this pile of dirt that came from the construction site. So I happened to have fish on a stick at my house, so I stuck one in and took a picture. And it ended up there. This is all now apartment buildings where they improved the neighborhood and kicked us out. So. Then I went back, and you know, here's the road cap that's being dumped onto the road while the water is freely flowing. I just happened to be there because I decided that I was going to start monitoring that storm drain. So I just happened to be there.
You weren't going to the bank?
Yeah, I was. I changed banks. Sorry. I had to change banks because it was too depressing to go here. So this was flowing down, so I took a picture. This guy didn't seem to mind me with the camera, but when I brought out the clipboard, if you ever want to look really professional, carry a clipboard. People worry when you have a clipboard, okay? So if you want to do that. So then I started just going around and doing things like, you know, removing all the sand from one section and seeing how long it took to come back. I did a few experiments on ones. This was down by the McDonald's that was going in. And you see this one that says, no, leads to fish habitat? See the concrete right in front of it? Like the guy that was pouring the concrete, it said, don't pollute, leads to fish habitat, right on there. So I went and had a chat with him, and I didn't ask if he could read, because that would be wrong. But I did talk to him about a few different things, and we talked about how things could be done differently, and this is part of my presentation to council. So it goes through. This is part of my presentation to council. This is part of my presentation to council, right? Things just happen. This is off the side, and there's dirt. There's sheens everywhere. You know, I didn't take long to go around and monitor drains, right? I just did it quite quickly, and I went around and took the drains. And, you know, I think they're supposed to function. That one's not functioning, right? Yeah. And so, you know, even when they have this filter cloth in, it gets full, and then all the debris just goes out the back. So you know, these are things that with a photo, I was able to show them what was going on. Got to a point where I didn't have enough room. I had to start tripling up and putting them. This one, I was so excited. Oh, I went to the construction site, and I thought, they've got a truck wash. They've got a truck wash. And I was so excited. I was going to take a picture of something really great, right? Every time a truck went through that, a tidal wave of dirty water went down, went directly into the storm drain. And I got to say, like, this is what happened. I went there to show something good, and I was so excited. I'm going to tell you this is 10 years ago, okay, so we feel better now. Okay, and there again. You know, it's raining. I'm in North Vancouver, and there's the district crews working on stuff. So I took this to council. But what I did one day is we had been monitoring that storm drain and that filter cloth that nobody was cleaning. Because once the filter cloth goes in, the idea is you're supposed to clean it, right? So it doesn't get full and just go over the overflow. So something you can't do on your own. Those things are heavy, those storm drains, right? So I would go and step on either side to keep it from falling in. And Pat would go and he would pull it out. That was the routine that we had. We would throw it into a bag and we'd chuck it in the back of my truck. And then it went in the carport for long periods of time. Well, one day I happened to have all that bag of debris and a scale for measuring and weighing fish. So I thought, I'm just going to weigh this stuff. So these wheelbarrows are the little collections that we took out of the filter cloth that should have been cleaned in an area that I didn't believe was going to be a problem. Okay, I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I thought it was far enough away that this stuff wouldn't make it down that far, and it did. So then I started adding up the amounts. And then I added up more. This is only over a summer, okay? Adding up some more, one storm drain. Adding up some more, 221 pounds of sand was headed for Hastings Creek.
Over how long a period?
It's summer. Summer. It was close. And I didn't mean to monitor this, right? So there's monitoring with a purpose, and there's accidental monitoring, right? But once you do that accidental monitoring, you need to find purpose in what you've done and share that with others. When I showed this on the screen, I said, this is not an accident. This is not a spill. This is done on just a perpetual basis.
It's practice.
Yes, this is a practice, yeah. Well, the mayor turned to the chief guy and said, I thought we did better than this. But he had a microphone, so his whispering didn't help. So I said, I thought you did too. Like, I honestly thought they did better than this, okay? So since then, there's the debris that I captured in one, and then, you know, you have a stop sign, and the fish just say stop, so we'll do that. Since then, what happened from that, and going and doing that monitoring, and then taking it and making it purposeful by going to the municipality and doing a presentation, they have indeed changed their soil and erosion control bylaws. So the laws changed according to that. And they now have these bylaws that are there. Stockpiles need to be covered, you know, allowed to have stuff go down the drains. But one of the things that it read was you could have 25 milligrams per liter above background suspended solids during the months of May to September. Am I supposed to know that? Am I supposed to know what 25 milligrams per liter is? That would depend on how much water is being pumped off the site. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes in. So what we've decided to do is I shouldn't have to know all that scientific stuff. All I need is when a resident sends me this picture, for me to send it to someone else and say, I believe that this is not within the soil and erosion control bylaw. I'm not going down. I'm not collecting samples. I'm not telling them. I actually did it though, this one, because I had the water log, the stuff from UBC, was doing a study. I had one more container left. So I went down and got one here rather than the oil spill that I'd been told about. So I went to this one. Then it's not me being the one that's phoning, it's UBC students, and they're all young and cute, and they're going to put it up online, and it's not going to look good, but it's not me. I didn't do it. It's them, right? I just collected their sample. Monitoring with purpose. What's the purpose of this monitoring? This is students studying invertebrate at Spanish Bank Creek. If you ever want to see some really great bugs, go to Spanish Bank Creek. They've got amazing bugs. One of the things is to get knowledge into the students' heads, but the other thing is we do this on a regular basis at the end of July when the animals are big enough to be able to see. We go down to the beach and we do a study every year at that time. It's one of those things where you can see what happens when you have water seeping out of the land and cool water flowing down in the stream system. You get amazing creatures. We go to some other streams where you've got warm water or you're continually having the pollution problems. You don't get that same water. So here is monitoring and an activity at the same time. Sometimes we monitor, sometimes we do an activity. If you can make an activity be a monitoring situation, that works much better. And these students now are going to come and help us each year. This is where we're monitoring up in Shuswap area. And we were just doing monitoring. We wanted to see what would happen. Do some module 2, which is looking at the stream bed substrate and looking at bugs and water quality. And then we wanted to go again a year later and see what happens when 1 million sockeye salmon tails come through that area and see what the change is. And as we were doing the studies, we made sure that we positioned ourselves on the trail so that people going past us would stop and talk to us. So this guy came by, and I'd seen him the day before with a camera sticking out of his car, and I wasn't sure who he is. Don't know if you guys are YouTube fans, but this is JVC Dude, and he's a big YouTube guy. And he came and he did now 2 sessions with us, and they're both up on YouTube. So now if I want to monitor how far that video has gone, he's got numbers on his thing. I can monitor what I want. But you know, just make sure that you're out and about where people can see you. This is doing a bug sample. We were at Nile Creek. We just wanted to do a bug sample. But as we were doing the bug sample, you can see the side channel. See how important side channels are? And you can see the side channel coming in this side, and then you can see the debris there. And so we went upstream just to see what was going on. And they were washing gravel for a stream restoration project. Yeah, I was kind of like, oh man, I'm sure that's not what they had in mind. Being there is really important. So being in a site is really important to be able to know where you, to be able to see things. If you're not at the creek, you'll never see anything, right? Okay. On this particular one, this is a CAP student, okay? So it's monitoring with a purpose. We had CAP students come out to do some work with us. I got all kinds of information from streams that I wouldn't have gotten before because that was her task, was to go out and get these. But my purpose in that, I didn't need the water quality information so much as I needed pictures of young people doing water quality monitoring. So the purpose for me in her doing the monitoring was to get photos of young people doing the monitoring. It was a really important thing. Everybody likes to see it. So, but for her, it was to get CAP hours. That was her purpose in monitoring. But in the meantime, we had her go and do water quality sampling on a number of streams we wouldn't have gotten to. If you want to get young people, I don't think they get much younger than this. This is doing water quality sampling in Chilliwack. The people in Chilliwack wanted to work on things. There's a pipeline that is proposed to go through Chilliwack, and they would like to get a few more people interested in it. But when they talk about the pipeline, they're getting one sector of people interested in the pipeline. They're not getting the broader audience. And they have some issues with farmers and the nutrient load coming into the streams as well. And so what we talked about is having water quality as part of a monitoring regime for the public to come out and let them see the reaction to their actions, right? So farmers will be able to see over the course of the year that, especially in the summer, that the water temperatures are rising, the dissolved oxygen is going down, nutrient loads are going up, and they'll be able to see for themselves because they're the ones do the monitoring. So rather than preaching at them saying, what you're doing is very bad, They were making something very interesting so that people would come out and learn for themselves, okay? As they have them coming out and doing this and working on bugs and doing stuff, they are then able to talk to them about little things like, you know, Enbridge. So that wouldn't have, these people wouldn't normally have come to the meeting up in Lake Babine. And the First Nations up there are doing monitoring on their sockeye salmon, and they're doing water quality monitoring. And their purpose is to see what's going on with their salmon runs and to see how things are. Water temperature is a really big thing in their area. So their purpose is to do a study for others, but they want to know what's happening to their fish. You can get some really nice background shots. It's down at Maplewood Creek. Our purpose in monitoring the water quality down there is there's a duck pond that's right by, it comes out of Maplewood Farm, and there's a duck pond that goes in. We were told that the duck pond was causing the death of fish, that it wasn't good for the pH. The people at the farm told us that, and the municipality told us they'd made changes and things were better. One thing they did was they quit allowing people to feed the ducks. How simple was that? They just said, quit feeding there, feed over there. And so people fed over there, and the ducks weren't pooping so much, and so it wasn't quite as bad. So one group of people were telling us that it was horrible, and everyone was dying, and everyone else, the other people were telling us that everything was wonderful. So we did a study, and we just went down there, and once a week through the summer, and we took water quality information at that time, and for this year, things did go well. We did have some construction issues that we found on the way there that we had to monitor, but we weren't there to monitor the construction, though. We were there to do this. And you seem to get more empathy if you say, I wasn't there to look at the construction. It just hit me in the face. I was going there to do the water quality stuff that we were working on, right? Anyhow, it ended up being that they've lowered the duck populations to a point that it's good. I'd like to say about sharing your information and sharing your knowledge with others. We've been putting stuff onto the data entry tool, and you talk about data, and it's not that fun to talk about. It is information, and it's about how you share information, right? So this is just on our website. And so we put up photos of what happened during the day. Be sure people are smiling. And we put up the photos during the day of what we did. And then up at the top here, you can see the URL for the information that we collected that day. You click on that URL, and it takes you right to the data entry tool. And it tells you everything that you collected and where you were that day and what you saw. It makes it, and we're finding it really nice, a way that people are able to connect. Your neighbors who think you're a bit of a wacko for going out in the creek all the time, they're able to look on your Facebook page and see what you were up to and what information that you collected. It allows your municipality to gently go there and take a look at what you did that day, who was out and about with you that day, and then click on the data entry tool and be taken right to the information that you collected that day. We've had more interest since we made it interesting. That make sense? Okay. And this one I just thought was a really gratuitous picture. This is down at Brothers Creek, and I went to just get a depth measurement of how far down I could see in there, and I didn't even notice till I got home. But look at my helper. This guy was down there reading the measuring stick for me. I didn't even know he was there. And so you just never know who you're interacting with at any given time. We did a bunch of studies on water quality, found out that there was some things that were quite poor. If they're poor in one of your creeks, they're probably poor in all of them. Most creeks aren't separated one from the other. So we'd done a big study on McKay Creek. The reason that we chose McKay Creek is because there was environmental damages money. Okay? We had gone in there with, and did module 3 and 4 of Streamkeepers to show that there was something wrong with the water quality, and we had to take a closer look. But we were able to get this environmental damages money, and it's $40,000 it cost us to do the studies that go in for sampling and stuff once you find out something's wrong and try and pinpoint it. So what I did on this one is we got the information from, and the sample bottles from ALS. It's about $200 a sample site. And we got the information from them. Then we took the Streamkeepers kit with us, and we did the Streamkeepers right alongside. And then UBC was doing the waterlogged, and so I just brought their containers with me as well. I mean, it was just a dip, a couple of photos. So we did 3 different things in one go. So it wasn't like it was an extra burden for us. We were going there anyhow. So we went out. In doing this, I ended up being the #1 waterlogger for UBC. Didn't mean to. I was just going out that day. Use your Streamkeepers knowledge to help your local hatcheries do strategic enhancement. Okay? We don't have to put fish here and there. It's a lot more controlled nowadays, but you don't have to do fish here and there. You can actually go through and figure out where they're needed and where they're necessary, and which species is needed and necessary. This is the data off the thing we did pink salmon In 2011, we were all told, eat pink. There's lots of pink, eat the pink. We thought, really? We had one of our volunteers wanted to start enhancing pink. What do you mean there's lots of pink? We should go and count these pink. So we went out every week and counted the pink. And in 2011, we had 14. Like, that's enough pink to feed one family. No, they're small fish. 14. So we didn't have that massive amounts of pinks that other people had. And so we decided that we would do a bit of enhancement on that and keep monitoring as well. So in 2013, we went out to monitor again, and as you can see, we were able to get more fish. But this is 45, and this is not 45,000. This is 45 fish. Okay, this is Lynn Creek, the biggest creek in North Vancouver. 45 fish, okay? So we did go in and we collected some eggs at the tenderfoot hatchery with the intention of putting some pink salmon into Lynn. Unfortunately, there was a water quality issue at one of the hatcheries that was holding them for us, and we lost them, so we'll try again in 2015, which is this year, so I have some more work to do. But we're going to go and look again, because it was something that we hadn't really gone to look, and then someone said, let's put in some pinks. And I said, well, do we have any? Should we put in pinks? I don't know. Like, I don't know, I haven't been down there. And then we went down and we didn't have them. So before you do something, go and check and make sure that it's actually happening. But it's kind of cool to be able to get those graphs and see your live and your dead numbers. The Lynn's pretty flashy, so we were surprised at how many dead we were able to collect. And then the last thing is, if you see something when you're out and about, please tell someone. Don't complain no one came and did anything about it if you didn't phone them. If we do not use this number will cease to exist.
That's a new number.
Okay, that's the 1-800. The 666-3500, I don't phone it often. 666-3500 is the local number in Vancouver. Okay, and this is the number for the 1-800 number on the other one. But phone, I was really surprised the other day. I was coming home from a meeting. I stopped to buy some flowers. I just wanted to buy some flowers. And I jumped over a stream of water on Hastings Street, not anywhere near the streams and stuff. Had to go around the corner, and I looked, and you know, people looked over. I started talking to them, and no one could answer me back. They didn't speak English. And I went around the corner, and I took a picture of one of the signs that was on the thing. And then I got on the phone. A lot more interest in me now. And people started to take a great interest, and they started to turn off the water that was bubbling. I phoned fisheries and I said, we've just been at a conservation and protection meeting. We've just been told we should phone in these things. Hello, I'm back. I'm going to phone this in. I'm not expecting you actually to do anything about it because it's a little bit of water coming up a site. They came. The city of Vancouver was called into it. I got phoned when I was at the doctor's about this thing. Like, it became like a huge thing. So phone. It's surprising how often that people will actually have a care. And that's it. So monitor with a purpose, but if you have information, please make use of it. Okay? So do you have any questions for Faye and I?
The Student Keepers program, I'm assuming it's offered in a binder to groups.
Yep.
Is there a charge?
You can get it free online. That's put up online, so it's there for free. On pskf.ca is our website. And you can get that for free there. And there's training videos online. I guess you don't need these anymore, eh? The www. Yeah. There's training videos online as well. And it's really, really funny. Go and see if you can, you've seen me now. Go and see if you can find Gary Taconia. And then later on, watch the video. Because that was a conversation that happened after the 1991 workshop is, why don't we make a video? So now we're old. So it's really quite fun to watch from a long time ago. Yeah. So that's up online in the training videos. We have trainers in different areas of the province as well that are there to help you. Yeah. Yeah. What do I
see it nowadays, like I know in food orchards that they carry little data recording devices with them, and I know everybody has their cell phone nowadays that can easily be entered. I wonder if the future of when you're out stream monitoring, that you can just right then and there enter the information and it's instantly uploaded to a general.
Yeah, we had put one of those in place and we'd actually forwarded it directly to Fisheries and Oceans, and unfortunately the person that was on the other end of that left, so we had to take it down. We had that up and ready. Yeah, I just send photos now. Yeah, if a data logger is there doing it automatic though, you're not there with your eyes and no one sees you. Really important to go down where people recognize you. Those vests were, I came up with the idea, I think it's brilliant. Those vests and walking down to the stream in those vests, everybody's like, whoa. take a clipboard and you are like golden. Yeah.
You were saying that all BC municipalities are mandated
No,
to have
just,
an ISP?
no, just lower mainland and beyond. Yeah,
Not
sorry.
on the island yet?
Does the island have to have, do you know if ISMPs are mandated as yet on the?
Oh, Pelican Beach is getting a stormwater management plan.
Yeah, yeah. So check on.
From what I know,
yeah.
they're all avoiding it as much as
They
possible.
are. They are dragging their feet. They are dragging their feet, but it's supposed to be there. If they don't happen, make a ruckus. And get hold of the people at Prince Rupert Government and say, hey, I thought this was supposed to happen. When's this going to happen? I want this to happen. Somebody's supposed to make it happen.
And ideally, they're monitoring more than just, it's not just about the storm drain, there's a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it.
Just deal with the storm drains, but there's more
No.
water than both.
Yeah.
The province is downloading responsibility to the municipalities.
Yeah, no cash.
But they haven't, so what you're saying is they haven't said, well, you're supposed to have a mandate.
Before
There's
any
a date.
development is supposed to take
Yeah,
place.
there's a date that's on there. One of the main things that we're pushing in our end of things is we want to ensure that the water stays on the land. We're just in asking them to put in a foot of dirt
Yeah.
on every single family home that's there. A foot of dirt would absorb an awful lot of water. We just had a big house put in beside us, and it just sheets off. They put in, they took the clay and they pounded it, then they put in this much topsoil and some grass. It just runs off. So I phoned the municipality about that because it's flooding the neighbors, right? And I said, I live on a ravine. And they said, is it coming out of a pipe? I said, no. I said, oh, no, that's not us. I said, but it's your policy that allowed that to happen. So a foot of dirt, one of the easiest things that they can do. So go with the easy stuff, okay? Get easy wins and get in the door and work on the harder stuff. If you have people in your organization that have these ISs behind their name, ask them if they will say those degrees when they say who they are. You know, our coordinator for North Shore Streamkeepers goes to her new neighbor development and said, hi, my name is Karen. I'm a streamkeeper, a local streamkeeper. I am also a scientist. I care about the cleanliness of this site and the development you're putting in. That's her opening lines. I can't say that. I'm not a scientist. I'm going to come up with something. Okay?
You're the coordinator of the Pacific Streamkeepers.
There we are. I'll do that. We have no authority, so all we can do is put forward some good ideas. Yeah, we can just put some good ideas forward, but go with something simple like a foot of soil, and that would do a lot. So we're off to our next workshops. I hope you guys have really enjoyed all your workshops that you've had. Okay. Thanks, guys. Yay.